Alexia. I'm the marketing manager for the Big Five Saudi. This is the third in our Excellence in Construction webinar series, where fortnightly we'll be covering different topics in construction. Today we have Ahmad Farakh Manzoor from Siemens, Saudi Arabia. He's the head of Smart Infrastructure Services and Solutions there. He will be talking on the topic IoT in times of pandemic. So I'm just going to hand you over to Ahmed now, and then he can take it from here. Ahmed, how are you?
Good, very nice. Thanks, Alexia. Well, hey, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everybody. We have a great crowd today. I see over 700 registrations all over from the US, Europe, Middle East, and Asia. So thanks a lot for your time today. I'm with Siemens for about 20 years, and I've worked in the industrial area, the intelligent traffic systems, building automation, security, and smart infrastructure during my career. I love technology and how it has changed our lives. And it's my passion to simplify technology and see how we can apply it to make infrastructure smart, safe, secure, and delight its users. We will have around 30 minutes for the presentation and 30 minutes for questions. Kindly type in your questions during the presentation and feel free to contact my office on this email after the webinar to get in touch, and we will try to help you with your queries. I'm going to take you through a journey today into how the future is probably going to look like in the coming 1 to 2 years and possibly even beyond. The current pandemic has already changed our lives. I'm sure most of us are in our homes right now. This is how much it has impacted us. This webinar is all about my personal opinions and predictions on how IoT and smart technology will help us in the new normal. Yeah, that's right, the new normal. A lot of people ask me, when will things go back to the way they were? I think that's the wrong way to look at it. It's not about going back. It's about going forward. How do you fight this invisible enemy? I see that there is immense potential that technology and IoT can play to help our lives to get back to a degree of comfort and normalcy in the future. We see some countries are already relying partially on smart technology in their own ways. Full lockdown, which is there for a lot of us, means you cannot see the enemy. So you apply the same measures to everyone. We all agree that cannot be a long-term solution. Imagine for a moment what is the problem at hand. How do you make something that is invisible visible? We know that rapid testing is the solution. Imagine for a moment immediate results at no cost available at the entrance of every building or at the entrance to an event or gathering. This is just like having magic goggles through which you can identify in a crowd who's positive and who's negative for infections. This would decimate any virus, as people could then see the enemy and self-isolate. I know this is science fiction in today's date, but I like to shed some light on the problem and the ideal solution. So this was the utopia, the perfect ideal solution. Now let's get back to reality and see how close IoT and smart tech can get us to where we want to go in today's date and in the near future. There are many use cases available today or in the near future to detect, prevent, and respond to the spread of infections. Some are listed here already, and I will briefly go through them And if you'd like to have a deeper conversation on how we can help you in your specific application, please feel free to reach out to my office. Let's get the most obvious one out of the way. Thermal cameras started to be used since the previous epidemics like SARS and MERS, etc., especially in the East Asian countries. This technology is capable for pre-screening for elevated body temperatures only. It's not accurate enough today to confirm a fever. However, still it can be used as a fast tool to pre-screen people entering the building, and the ones with elevated temperature can be confirmed with an FDA-approved temperature measuring device. So basically it's used for pre-screening people, and then if you get an alarm, they can go for a real in-detail screening. How about measuring temperatures during the flight? In China, in addition to tracking your food delivery and tracking where the food delivery person is on the map, you could see their body temperature as well, just to get that peace of mind. This opens up many use cases with especially wearable technology that today can monitor your steps taken, pulse rate, some can even measure blood pressure. But soon, I predict body temperature and blood oxygenation level is going to be added soon in this arena. Blood oxygenation, or SpO2, is another important metric to look for. Doing stuff without touch or contact will be the norm in the future. An interesting use case for touchless access control is using hand-vein biometric devices that could at the same time detect the oxygenation or the SpO2 as well. And this is where we're heading. I mean, we see a lot of automatically open doors right now. We see, a lot of these biometric fingerprint devices being replaced with wireless devices, or where you don't need to touch the surfaces anymore. So I believe this is going to be the future norm, or the new normal, as I call it. Just a reminder, please, if you have any questions, you can still type them, and then later we'll come back to them. Another idea is using IoT sensors, analytics, and applications. I mean, using these, we have solutions today that can help building users keep physical distance and control their environment. We know that temperature, airflow, and humidity are important factors to control the spread of viruses that can be suspended in the air. In the new normal, people who have recently traveled or at a higher risk of exposure or underlying conditions can be booked dynamically in areas of an office where there is better airflow or negative or positive pressure is maintained. So in the future, currently already we have these apps, and you can monitor the temperature, you can change your environment, we have a lot of hot desk and desk booking and meeting room booking applications, which can be dynamically used for people who have been recently traveling. We also have the feedback functionality, where if you have an instance, it's with minimal invasive contact, you can issue trouble tickets, and using these apps, you can have a better response time for cleaning services or any other services. A bit on how the interface for the maintenance and the facility management looks like. Using these applications in the past, we were trying to optimize space, or we were trying to look at areas where space was not heavily utilized and try to repurpose them and redirect the flow of people so they are sufficiently utilized. Nowadays, with this new pandemic going on, the same technology can be used for a different use case. It can be used to look at the hotspots, to look at the areas which are increasingly dense, and have alarms alert the facility maintenance and the management to make sure that social, or now we call it physical distancing, is implemented to reduce the risk. Furthermore, there can be another use case where if there are, which could be linked to the access control system, where if certain number of people are exceeded that are entering the building, there could be alarms to not allow further people to enter the building, and that would also have a control on social distancing or physical distancing, especially if you have a large office footprint around the country, and you can have all of these solutions monitored remotely, so it's easy to implement and to monitor on a real-time basis. There are sensors available in the market. There are some from Siemens. It's a cool company, Enlightened, which was acquired by Siemens, where we have the sensor which can be used inside the buildings to enable all of these use cases, which I was talking about earlier, regarding the density of the offices, inside the offices, and how to allocate people in different work areas as well. A bit more on the analytics that are available. So the same solution can be used also for lighting and also for energy efficiency. We know that a lot of the office environments are not being used right now. And we see also in a lot of cases, the few people that are going to the offices, which are essential services and critical people, they're leaving the lights on or the air conditioning on. And using our solutions, you could monitor that remotely and also ensure that the energy bills are not going through the roof while the offices are not fully utilized. Going a bit deeper into condition-based maintenance and also infection control, we already see a lot of offices are being deep cleaned, or a lot of these third-party infection control companies are popping up everywhere. In the future and in the new normal, these things should be monitored through the digital platforms and also optimized as well. So instead of deep cleaning on a daily basis, which might not be very efficient and also might not be needed, we could have condition-based maintenance techniques and regimens, which would also be enabled by these IoT sensors and apps and technology that we could provide to ensure once the offices are coming back to normal, these solutions are in there to ensure that we're running things optimized in the new normal. And these were some of the old or some of the objectives and the questions that normally facility management and building owners were asking themselves, especially also the hospitals. And to add to that, for example, how many square meters are used? What are the peak waiting times in waiting rooms? And this will be critical now, because if a lot of people are waiting or there are queues everywhere, this is not good for physical distancing as well. Flows of people, so monitoring those hotspot areas, who's coming, who's leaving, where are the bottlenecks. This being monitored by IoT sensors is going to be the normal from in the future for the smart buildings. And as I mentioned earlier, how often do you need to sanitize? So this solution part of it is already being used in, for example, smart restrooms. We have these IoT sensors installed in restrooms, and based on their usage per day, instead of having an hourly cleaning schedule, you could have a schedule based on how many people are visiting the restrooms, and based on that, you could have a more optimized, predictive, and need-based kind of a schedule, which could optimize your running costs as well. This is in a bit of our IoT platform. The name of the company is Enlightened. So if you're interested, feel free to reach out. You could also Google it and find wealth of information about our Enlightened IoT technology. A bit on the hospitals. So inside hospitals, we have a lot of solutions using IoT smart sensors, which are controlling the pressurization of rooms, the airflow, the temperature, humidity, and a lot of these parameters to ensure the infections are not transmitted from room to room, from people to people. As you can see and appreciate, the reason we all have to wear masks is that the environment around us is a big part to play with the spread of infections, especially inside the buildings. So this is where Siemens technology can help our customers to really optimize all of those environments. It starts with the critical environments where we know in hospitals we have the isolation rooms. I mean, if you look at hospitals, there are two types of rooms. There are positive pressurized rooms and there are negative pressurized rooms. So positive pressurized rooms are more like clean rooms where they're pushing the air out of these places to ensure the contaminants are not entering these areas, they're leaving these areas if they are there. And the negative pressurized rooms, a good example are the isolation rooms or the triage rooms, where, for example, if you have a corona infection or some other infectious disease, these negative pressurized rooms are ensuring that the contaminants are not leaving these areas and going into other areas or to the clean areas. So this is a bit the basic principle of how hospital rooms, the airflow is organized. And what I'll go further, you'll see how it looks like. So this is a lab and room pressurization and fume hood control solution from Siemens, where the different components are listed over here. The reason I show this is that going in the future, in the new normal, even the normal buildings for offices, for schools, for hotels, and universities, they should be following similar guidelines. And this is what I like to emphasize over here. I mean, this is, by the way, the technology that we use to, which is above the ceiling, most of it, to control all of that stuff. But going in the future, as I mentioned, if you go to a school, if you go to a hospital, to a hotel, if you go to an office, there are people in 6 months, in 1 year, when things are starting to get back to normal, there are people who are going to be traveling to other countries. Once they're coming back, we want them to have to go to areas or to have the building ready with these hospital grade solutions, so that maybe not exactly as the hospital, but following those negative and positive air principles, so that we're keeping the infections to a minimum. So these are some of the technologies that Siemens could provide. And these includes everything from building management, fire alarm, security. The use cases that you have seen up to now, they're touching all of these technologies where Siemens is the leading provider in the world. Even for healthcare and clinic, we have Siemens Healthineers that provide these CT scan and MRI machines as well. Moving along, there is also the need to provide the accurate and timely information immediately to the people as well, which are occupying a building. We have in Siemens our mass notification system that enables just this. So, I mean, if you have a fire alarm normally in your building, what would you do? You would hear a sound, you would hear the fire alarm, and you would, in an organized way, you like to go to the nearest fire exit and evacuate the building. What if it's a large building? And what if the fire or the incident is on the way of the exit? In these cases, we need the help of smart technology and mass notification solutions where you could get personalized alarms based on your location, based on where the alarm was, based on where the incident was, or where the fire was, or where the infection leak was. You can get these personalized alarms to go to specific exits and then have minimum contact with the threat because of which the alarm was sounded. Not only that, these mass notification solutions have other use cases where you could be more close to your building occupants and provide them with other timely information. For example, you could talk to them about deals in the cafeteria, or if there is a visit from a dignitary to the building, or to announce or congratulate somebody's work anniversary. So this mass notification system has a wealth of different use cases which touch not only the fire alarm use case, but also HR and even security. For example, if there's a break-in or a lockdown event where there could be a shooter on campus, where instead of sounding the fire alarm and then people are evacuating and exposing themselves, the mass notification system is going to then have an alert for lockdown, so people could then lock themselves down as per the SOPs or the policies which they have rehearsed before. To top it all off, we have our Mindsphere Iot platform. It's an open IoT operating system. You can go to mindsphere.io online. You can Google it, and there's again tons of information online. How can you subscribe to this platform? And you can use third-party IoT devices in your building and use this platform to aggregate all the data, to integrate it to your systems, and then to see these dashboards and also analytics. And we have artificial intelligence engine running in it as well. So you can run those algorithms to make sense of your data from your IoT devices in your buildings or in your facilities. And at the end, you can make tons of use cases. You can do it yourself because it's an open platform. You can get a training and you can do it yourself, or you can use Siemens or our many partners globally, which are providing the service as well, who are building apps on Mindsphere and using it to provide value to our customers. So thank you very much for your time. I wanted to keep it short and sweet, which I hope it was, and I open the floor for your questions. Thank you very much. Well, it's 5G for sure. It's like 4G, right? Whenever I think about 5G, I think about 4G and 3G and 2G and only G, because for me, I'm coming from that background where we had those 8086 processors, so we have seen those days. And yeah, it's an incremental shift. I don't think it's a revolutionary shift. It's an incremental shift where I think it's just going to get better and better. Yeah, I see the same news that you do, so I don't know much about that, so can't comment too much. But yeah, this is what we see in the news. Yes, so our Enlightened sensor is a PIR sensor, but it's a multi-sensor. It not only looks at the motion, it looks also at the Bluetooth, so it has a BLE thing in it. It also looks at the temperature and the lux level as well. So it's a very unique sensor, and yeah, I invite you to go online and look at the details. It's very unique. Yeah, very good question, Tariq. So it's, yeah, this technology could be used in malls. You can use it based on sensors. There are a lot of applications out there where you can use video analytics as well to look at the density inside large areas like malls and public facilities. And yeah, with that going on with these analytics, you can have then alarms, and you can have then sufficient measures in place. I mean, right now when I go for groceries, there is sometimes a queue outside the grocery store because they want to keep a density inside. In the future, there could be even a booking to go and do shopping or groceries. So that, for example, in a mall, there could be 1,000 people, and you need to book your time that I'll go for shopping from 2 p.m. to 3 p.m., and then you're allowed to go in the mall. I mean, it's difficult to predict, but we could be seeing some of this technology implemented. Yeah, I mean, this depends from country to country. So I don't know from which country you're asking this. I guess there are a lot of programs, especially here in the Middle East, which I've seen. There are a lot of incubators, and there are some government incentives for especially the SME sector to look at this. I'm aware of Gauss University as well, and a lot of university-related programs are available in the Middle East for sure. Can we build strategies using conventional occupancy sensors, air quality sensors, CCTV analytics? Yeah, yeah. So as I mentioned also earlier, it depends on the use case and how much accuracy you like to have. But for sure, you can go crazy with the video analytics technology or sensor technology, different kinds of sensor technology. It all depends on what accuracy you're looking for and what kind of a use case and the economics as well, obviously. Yeah, Enlightened is a physical sensor, so it cannot be used before the building is made, but we have a lot of other simulation tools from Siemens, like digital twin for buildings, which can model the building usage, even the evacuation scenarios, even the energy usage scenarios before the building is constructed. Maybe you don't know the Siemens is the leading company in the world for digital twin stuff. We have our collaboration with Bentley Systems. And yeah, I mean, just feel free to reach out if you have an application. We do that all the time. Yeah, if you like to look into IoT stuff and smart building topics, I recommend to follow the Siemens Smart Buildings website, and you will find a lot of information over there. Just Google Siemens Smart Buildings and IoT and just follow the links. You'll have tons of information. There are even some free trainings available which you could attend. Yeah, good question, Sarah. Some of these I already mentioned, some of these use cases, but yeah, these IoT sensors can help keep physical distancing. It can also help a bit with infection control, like you can monitor, for example, if a patient is not wandering around inside the hospital into a clean area, for example, and there are many, many different use cases. I can't go with all of them right now. If you have certain applications, just feel free to reach out. Yeah, we have different IoT devices. We use sometimes Wi-Fi, we use LoRaWAN, we use a wealth of different protocols. So it all depends on which devices you're talking about. But yeah, we have tons and tons of different solutions. Yeah, I mean, there are, Ahmed, some use cases already implemented globally for this. Not so many that I see, but this is cashless checkout. So you just move your trolley out of the shopping store and you get you pay the payment online. It just gets deducted from your credit card. So these solutions have been piloted in various places around the world, and yeah, it's a very good use case to be implemented in these times. We should see that more often. To get information for Mindsphere, it's free. You need to get a subscription if you want to use it. So the details are online, and yeah, if you need help, just reach out. Yeah, if any system is using open third-party or open protocols, we as Siemens also use open protocols, and our IoT systems are also vendor agnostic, especially Mindsphere as well, and also Enlightened. So they work nicely with BACnet, with Modbus, or with any open protocol, even on at the network layer, or also at the application layer, or at the database layer to connect with third-party systems. LoRa is just a communication protocol for IoT devices. So it's just one of them. There are others as well. Yeah, IoT has a great application sphere in the industrial technology. I mean, if you look at, we have a different division which is called Siemens Digital Industries, and we have tons of use cases for IoT, how they help, especially in the Industry 4.0. So I recommend Abdullah, to look into Industry 4.0. Just Google it, and you'll find tons of use cases for IoT in the industrial area. Yeah, Mindsphere is an open platform, so it doesn't look at the country of origin where the device is coming from. It only looks at the protocol which you're using to interface with it. So yeah, that's all what it sees. Yeah, data privacy is even a topic right now, even without IoT, or even in the past where we had pencils and papers, even, even then data privacy was a topic. So I think this topic is not going to go away. We just have to obviously manage this topic using security techniques. And once you have that technology for helping people, that technology can also be used to harming people. So there always needs to be a balance, and you need to have those cybersecurity specialists in place, which are always fighting against those cyber enemies. So for sure, this will always remain a subject. Enlightened, so ENLIGHTED. So you can just Google it. I'll type it over here in the questions. Artificial intelligence, good question. I think I need to have another webinar for that. But yeah, it's a very important topic. I hinted to it a bit earlier, where I mentioned that especially in the use case of infection control and cleaning restrooms, you can use artificial intelligence to even predict based on past patterns. You could predict how many people do you need for cleaning duty for a big office building on a certain day of the week. So using past data and using artificial intelligence and deep learning, you could optimize your workforce for the future. So yeah, it's a lot of use cases are there. In terms of air quality and comfort, there we already are having a use case in Singapore where we're predicting the air quality of the last 10 minutes and looking at the trend, the past 1 hour air quality, using that as an input to predict the next 10 minutes of air quality. So we're already having those use cases in Siemens where we're using artificial intelligence to predict the future comfort level or the air parameters of a building, and then adjusting the airflow in the building to compensate for that prediction that we made. I'm not sure if what a sensitive sector would mean, but we are with our IoT solutions targeting buildings wherever there are people. And yeah, I'm not sure I fully follow the question, but I hope that partially answers it. Yeah, every country is unique with their regulatory requirements. At the end, we have our technology, which then can be applied in different areas or in different ways in different countries. So we always need to follow those local regulations and constraint and then do things in a compliant way. So, but yeah, our solutions and platforms are pretty customizable and programmable, so we can always adapt to the local requirements. I mean, there are many type of motion sensors available in the market. There are infrared-based, passive infrared-based, there are ultrasonic-based, and they're the ones which are mixed, like the ones from Enlightened, from Siemens. And it all depends on what kind of application and accuracy you're looking for. Yes. Well, the simple answer is yes, they can do it easily. And obviously, you need to have different sensors for different applications. So I keep reminding that. So not everything can be done by Enlightened sensors. There's many other sensors from Siemens which can fit the purpose. So this question, Heba is asking, how can you make the infection control to lock the infected air from going through the air conditioned system filter in the hospital? Yeah, it's very important. You look at the mechanical system in the hospital, the airflow. There are various solutions to redirect the airflow, and also there are a lot of filtration solutions. I mean, normally we would like to keep the air handling units separated in these cases so that there is physically no chance for the air to mix, at least from the above the ceiling. And then obviously we need to maintain using our room pressure monitoring sensors to ensure the negative pressure is maintained in these rooms. And in case the air is going to go out, it means the negative pressure is not been maintained, and the sensor would give an alarm in advance. Yeah, we have a large cybersecurity team in Siemens. Siemens is one of the world's largest software companies. A lot of people, they don't know that. So it's not only Microsoft and Google. Siemens is also very much up there. We do a lot of industrial software and software for buildings and smart infrastructure and healthcare. And for sure, we have, like any other software companies, we have our experts dealing with the cybersecurity and user privacy issues like anybody else. Yeah, so these sensors are tracking the movement and also the BLE signals, and using that, just creating, using analytics, a map of what's going on, and then converting that into a heat map. For the energy, good question. Our Enlightened Sensors have a module on top of the ceiling where the light fixture is controlled through that module, and that module has a mini virtual meter installed in it, and that is measuring the energy consumption. We have a large use case for warehouse actually. Enlightened is used in many warehouses around the world, and yeah, it's a very interesting use case, especially nowadays with Amazon and with all of these online deliveries and online shopping. Warehouses are booming left, right, and center, and we have the same Enlightened IoT sensor is used in warehouses to look at the movement of people inside the warehouse, the automated machines, and then trying to optimize what's going on inside the warehouse, not only from the lighting control perspective and energy efficiency perspective, but also you can see and monitor infection control to ensure are people coming in on time to do the infection control, and so on and so forth. I guess police force, they're already using a lot of IoT. We have a reference, a very famous reference in Dubai, where the Dubai police force, we have a central command and control system over there from Siemens. And whenever there's an incident, the alarms and the video of the incident is pushed to the iPad or to the mobile devices of the police force, and then they can see that incident with the clip of the incidents. Even if they're on a helicopter, they can see that as well. So they're already using these platforms, Laura, and Dubai police and many other police and critical facilities and law enforcement around the world. They're using Siemens technology. Yeah, why not? So IoT and BACnet are perfectly compatible. Again, BACnet is a protocol and IoT is not a protocol. So IoT is just a concept. So again, if IoT device is using a right protocol and you have the right gateway, for example, BACnet to XYZ gateway for an IoT protocol, for sure they can easily talk to each other, and they're already doing that. They're already talking to each other. Yeah, very good question for us. So yeah, I mean, we have our Siemens solutions also installed in some train stations. For example, in Riyadh Metro project, we are already installing our camera solution and our access control solution. Not this IoT solution yet, but for sure, metro stations and bus stations are also public areas, and these solutions could give huge dividends in terms of keeping people safe and secure in the future. Yeah, I mean, I don't see a lot of use cases inside the flights because there you already have seatings allocated and people are going to fill those seats anyways. You can have some physical distancing, like some flights are doing now with keeping a seat vacant. But inside airports, you're right, it should be similar, as I mentioned, for buildings and hospitals. It could be a similar use case for airports, Adil. Investment is always looking at a use case and looking at the return of investment. So that's very critical. I mean, it's always good to have some business instead of no business, right? So right now, a lot of countries are in a situation of having no business. I mean, if you look at a restaurant or you look at a hotel, and this is, or you look at even offices which are locked down, and this is a situation of no business or very little business, or what we call essential services or critical business. I mean, going forward, there are a lot of government incentives that are going to kick in with many, many countries. And for sure, we need to work in the new normal. And I predict that a lot of these IoT investments are going to make sense and they might even be regulated in the future to enable offices open up again. We already see in some countries that monitoring people's temperature is already regulated and mandated if you want offices to remain open. So you already start to see that. And this is the premise of my today's webinar, that I predict that going into the future, these solutions or some of these would even be regulated. Yeah, as I said, hacking is always, it will always remain as a continuous topic. So yeah, we're not going to get rid of this topic anytime soon. But as I said, we in Siemens have a large cybersecurity team, which is our police, and they're always awake to ensure these remain to a minimum. I'm not sure about the frequency, but it's using Wi-Fi 802.11. I forgot the extension after it, but yeah, it's using the Wi-Fi band 2.4 gigahertz. Yeah, RFID is used in hospitals already a lot, especially for patient tracking and infant monitoring. And we can use our Enlightened IoT sensors also for that purpose. It's a big use case for hospitals where, I mean, do you know, a lot of people, they don't know, nurses, they use a lot of their time during the year looking for assets and equipments, looking for crash cars, looking for wheelchairs, looking for many of the devices that are daily needed to serve patients. And using our Enlightened IoT solutions, nurses, they can just look for these devices on their iPhones immediately or on their mobile devices. And instead of wasting a lot of time, they can just go to the nearest wheelchair, the nearest asset, the nearest machine that they're looking for. And this saves tons and tons of cash for the hospitals. And we already are having a lot of these references in the United States and in other areas around the world where a lot of these hospitals are already using Enlightened IoT technology. Yeah, so these are different networks, so they can be integrated with one another and they can talk to one another. Yeah, a lot of what I've already mentioned. So, I mean, physical distancing, monitoring people while they're entering into malls, and then within the malls, ensuring that people keep a safe distance. And also, not only the IoT technology, a lot of real world physical stuff has to be done as well to ensure the infections are not spreading, like the precautions with the masks, with the gloves, with the hand hygiene, and all of that. So that's an integral part. IoT can help to to be something like an integrated solution with all of these regimes, but the basics always have to be there. Yes, as long as other IoT solutions are using open protocols, we can integrate. Yeah, it's open as long as the other systems are using open protocols. Well, IoT can, in many ways, they can look at the footprint, they can look at the people, how they're moving inside the building, and then the areas where there are no people, you can conserve energy by turning off the lights and air conditioning in those areas. So that's the most basic use case, plus there are many, many other use cases as well. Good one. Good question, Mr. Hussain. I think it's for EPC, for the construction market, we have some interesting use cases. How to use IoT to detect fever and or elevated temperature, and also using IoT devices on the helmet and on the harnesses of construction workers who are working at heights to ensure they're using their harness, and also clamping their hooks to the scaffolding if they're working in heights. We have that technology to look at their attendance, to look at if they're sleeping or not, or to look at if they're removing their helmet, you get an alarm. If they remove their safety shoes, you get an alarm. If they remove their vest, you get an alarm. So we have this IoT technology for the construction sector as well. I mean, just feel free to reach out to me, and then I'll get you that information as well. They can go to both. Ahmed, I think it's the end customers and owners. They, in any case, they go to consultants to design all of this nice stuff, and in general, the consultants, they come to the vendors like us, and also sometimes we are helping the end customers directly as well to help them design this technology. So it can work both ways. Not sure I understand the atrium's question. Um, Virtual space dividers. So you can do that with video analytics. And you could use that to condition only the required space. I think the use case exists. Yeah, I covered this already. I mean, this is only through regular power electronics, which is used to implement this use case. Yeah, good question, Gopal. So for this, yes, you can go through this the slides again, and if you have any questions for further use cases, just feel free to reach out. But for designing, I mentioned earlier that we have the digital twin solutions from Siemens, where you can already use that digital twin to see how IoT can help in having a more effective or a better building for you. Well, it depends on the use case, Laura. It will vary from use case to use case. Some use cases you might get a return of investment in 1 year. Could be some use cases hours, some use cases years. But sometimes we look at also the business continuity. So sometimes it's beyond economy or economics. It's about risk mitigation, infection control, and safety and security. Interesting, Sarah. Yeah, it's difficult to predict so much, but for sure, I mean, more and more people are going to work from home in the future and come to office, and for sure, what I predict, there's going to be a lot of these booking apps. So you can have hoteling or hot desks, and a lot of these booking solutions inside the offices. I think those days are numbered, where it's a 1-to-1 ratio of every person on a desk. I think those days are soon going to be over. And it brings up something interesting. And a few years ago, open offices and sharing workspaces was picking up, was in the fashion. And then a couple of years ago, there were some articles that were against that. They were saying, no, it's open offices are very distracting, and people are not concentrating anymore, and there should be closed offices again. So I think these trends are going to shift backwards and forwards as we go along. Yes, I think it will diminish, and it could even vanish over time. Let's see how long it takes. Yeah, just send us a short email and we'll get back to you with the query. Yes, Middle East is a very tech-savvy area, so that's the good thing about Middle East. You might not know this, but the social media penetration inside Saudi Arabia and some countries in the Middle East is one of the highest in the world. The mobile phone usage, social media usage, Twitter usage. So it's a very tech-savvy area in the world. And for sure, it's IoT ready. And we already see many IoT implementations in the Middle East. It's starting to pick up. So with that, I think we're out of time. I thank everybody for your attendance today. I see very interesting questions. I hope you got the answers you were looking for. In case there's still stuff which I could help you with, please feel free to reach out, and I'll be glad to support you. Thank you very much. Have a nice day ahead of you. Bye.
We will make sure that this is sent to you as a recording, and you will also get a copy of the presentation as well. You should get that within the next 2 to 3 days as soon as we finish. So you will have access to everything in the coming days. Thank you again, and we look forward to welcoming you to the next in the webinar series. Thank you very much.